Hello party people! Today I was taking some time to answer back to a few of your comments. Again, thank you very much for leaving comments in the first place. And I thought maybe I should share more of my advice, my knowledge. So today I'm going to tell you the story of my experience breaking the law. I don't know if you can consider the exam board as the law, nor what I did actually as breaking it, but I mean, you'll judge the story by yourself. If you're new here, my name's Milena. Hello, welcome to the channel. I make informative, semi-entertaining content, so subscribe if you enjoy semi-entertaining content. The intention of this video is to show you how you could even get in trouble in university, even if you did nothing wrong. The story begins. So last year we were given 2 to 3 months to write an assignment or an essay, and I tried to write mine as soon as possible, so I got it done within like the first 2 weeks or something, because that's how I am. And so once I had my work done, people heard that I was done. And so friends, or even semi-acquaintances, asked me, hey, I heard that you were done with this assignment. Could you help me with it? For some people, it was a few questions, you know, like, oh, how did you do this or that? And some people genuinely didn't know what they were supposed to do. And to be honest, after having explained it to like the 5th person, I was pretty confident about what I wrote. Because if it made sense to me, and it made sense to 5 more people, I thought, hold on. This is a good sign. On top of that, I genuinely like writing essays. And so I've mastered the game of make this into a new sentence. So if I read something that I thought, ooh, I like this makes sense. Obviously, I'm not gonna copy and paste it, right? No, you're not gonna do that. Plagiarism. Pure plagiarism, to say the least. So usually what I do when I read something that I'd like to include, I read it once, I rewrite it in my own words, and then just to make sure that I didn't somehow accidentally still use similar words, I changed all the words or all the verbs and all the adjectives so that they don't match. But really, you should have seen me. I was throwing verbs here, nouns there. It was kind of poetic. In high school, my English teacher used to tell me to simplify my work because my essays were borderline Shakespearean. Maybe she didn't say that. Maybe I just added that for humor. We don't know. We do know. She didn't say that. Anyways. Fast forwards a few weeks, and the deadline was approaching. And amongst the people who had asked me about the assignment was one very close friend of mine. And he asked me, hey, what did you do for the assignment? So at that point, I wasn't really like feeling like I wanted to explain it anymore. I was just kind of sick and tired of it. But out of all the people who had asked me, he was really the one person where I felt, yeah, no, I want to make sure that he does well. And so just to save us some time, I go, hey, I'll just send you my work, you read it over and you see if that makes sense. And that seemed like a good solution. And so just to make sure we had a mutual agreement that, you know, there wouldn't be any overlaps in our work because we didn't want to go down the road of plagiarism so early in our academic career. And this part of the story perfectly foreshadows what's about to happen. And so a few weeks pass by after we've submitted it and I don't really think much of it. We then get our grades back a few days later and this lady secured herself a 10. Just to clarify, this is a 10 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 100, as in like 10%, because that would really not be something I'd want to make a video about. And so of course, I was extremely excited. And I don't remember if it was a day later or some time later, but I remember getting the message from my friend and he says, hey, did you get the email about plagiarism? And my heart drops. I immediately go to my laptop to see what this person is talking about. And so I flip my laptop open, my hands are shaking, it's great. It was a whole experience. So, okay, I open the inbox and there it is. It says something like, we noted that your work had some cases of plagiarism. And I went through all stages of grief there and then. I first hit denial and I was like, no, that's not possible. I was pretty certain that it was my own work. And then that sent me to the second stage of anger. I went through a fit of rage. Remember, kids, don't go into a fit of rage before you've heard the whole story, because you'll end up finding yourself deleting 3 pages worth of email out of your notes. Step 3 was bargaining. I mean, I didn't bargain with anyone. Like, who would I bargain with? The school? Maybe. But you see, there's another word for that too. That would be bribery. Bargaining with a school would very much be bribing. So no, I didn't do that either. Depression and acceptance, well, I skipped those too. I was basically just really angry. There was really no need for me to outline the 5 steps of grief for you. Okay, so I thought if they send me an email, it must have been something very serious. So I text my friend back and I go, hey, could you send me your work so I can compare and see? He says, of course, and he sends me his work as soon as possible. And he says that he doesn't see a lot of similarity. And so I opened the text and I started reading it, and then I start realizing, this sounds quite familiar. And so I just thought I had tunnel vision, They told me that there was a case of plagiarism, and now I was looking for similarities in our text. And so I took both of the texts and I put them side by side on my computer, and I was going through both of them, and every time I saw a sentence that was similar, I would highlight them. And I kid you not, by the end of this reading sesh, half of the essay was highlighted. But of course there were some kind of modifications to the sentences, like they changed the few verbs, a few adjectives, but the syntax of the sentence was usually the same. And so I plummet into a little hole of sadness, and I think, hold on, I didn't commit the plagiarism. My work was plagiarized, but does that still count as plagiarism in my part? And so I realized from all they knew, 2 students submitted a similar essay. That's all they knew, and that was all they were aware of when they sent the email on plagiarism. And so I call my friend and I go, hey, and I tell him, yeah, I actually 100% understand why they're calling us in. And do you know the kind of person that's just a ray of sunshine? That's my friend. My friend's a ray of sunshine. While we were talking, I mentioned hey, this is really not good. I've heard that they could kick you out for this. Plagiarism is taken very, very seriously. It's a big, big no-no. And I don't really remember how the conversation ended. I just know we hung up, and I basically just spent the whole day in complete silence, because I was just thinking to myself, I've never cheated in a single exam. I read all the material, I submit my work early, I worked super hard on that essay, and still I might get kicked out. So yeah, I was worried, to say the least. You see, we both got emails that didn't mention another person. So basically, they were going to catch someone, but they just weren't sure who yet. So me and my friend, we called before we go and meet up, and we say, yeah, this is a really bad situation. And I'd spent all that time in between when we had to actually go into the office and we got the email, I was thinking, I really hope that my friend will say something about this. And before I can say anything else, and he goes, listen, this is your work. You see, I'm the one who made the mistake and you did nothing wrong. And I am so sorry for putting you in this position. I'll make sure to let them know that I was the one who copied. Oh, and that moment was enough to make a grown woman cry. I know quite a few people who would have tried blaming it on me. I can actually list a couple of people in my head right now who would have said something like, well, you shouldn't have sent it to me if you didn't want me to copy it. I know that kind of people. But no, this friend, the accountability of this man is sky high. I was baffled. He was upfront and he was honest, which I really value. And for all I was concerned, he just proved his ultimate loyalty to our friendship. I was extremely grateful for him, standing up and being accountable for what had happened. But I'll try to make it as clear as possible that I shared my work willingly, and this was honestly just an accident. It wasn't like he did it intentionally and tried to get away with plagiarism. A few days go by and it's the day of the meeting. And we walk into the building and there are 2 or 3 other pairs of people. And I recognized them from our class, so I could make the clear assumption that they were there for the same reason as well. And so they call us in, and it's a man and a woman. And you know how usually people like doing bad cop and good cop? Well, it turns out in education, there's disappointed cop and even more disappointed cop. They take out our texts and they show all the parts that were similar. It was kind of similar to what I have done. And so on top of that, it showed the percentage of similarity between both of our texts, which ended up being around 40%. And if you've ever written an academic paper, you know that 40 is not a good number. 2% is a bad number. It was not looking great. And so then they ask us if we have something to say for ourselves. And my friend basically immediately stands up. Well, he didn't physically stand up. That would have been quite dramatic. But he starts talking and he says, hey, this is the situation. And he basically explains everything that had happened. Anyways, then to summarize, disappointed cop said something. Even more disappointed cop explained to us how, it's not good, we can't have this happening. And it wasn't like we were trying to get away with something. We very much understood the issue of having plagiarized someone else's work. And so even more disappointed cop opens the door and we leave the room. And while we're leaving, we see a few more pairs of students coming in. And they didn't look, happy. They looked pretty angry. And obviously we weren't excited about the situation, but the pairs that were coming in, it seemed like they thought they were going to Mortal Kombat each other. And so, throughout this whole experience, I just always wanted to let my friend know, you know, we're still friends. I just wanted to make sure that he knew that I wasn't angry. Like, of course, I was upset of the situation, but I knew he didn't do it on purpose. And so, to lighten the mood, we go and get, I think we got Pokeballs? I think we got Pokeballs. A few months later, I get an email that states that I get to keep my grade. But at the same time, it's also a warning because it says, if this happens again, we're gonna have to take serious measures. And that means, we're gonna have to. And my friend and I have honestly not brought it up since because, well, it wasn't a good memory. Just to clarify, the moral of the story is not plagiarize and get away with it. In fact, the moral of the story is make sure your work is yours. Anyways, I hope you've learned from my mistake, because at this point, I genuinely just don't share my things anymore. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this story, because I did not enjoy living it. Alright, okay, have a nice day. Bye-bye!
I've been running out of things to say. Do you wanna get high with me, baby? I know the